You know, Ronnie and I have been talking a lot lately on our podcast. Seems like every week. How do we get more Encanto into the Disneyland Resort? Encanto is blowing up, kind of like Frozen, not quite Frozen level, but it's getting there. Its legend is growing. And Disney has recently found a couple ways of getting Encanto in here. You can meet Mirabel here in Frontierland, right out front of Rancho del Zocalo. Guests are lined up already. She hasn't started meeting yet. The line is full. You can't even get in the line anymore. But I kind of feel like that's not enough. That's not even near enough to meet the demand for Encanto, and I think Disney knows this. But what? Hey, how are you? But what do? Where do you find room for more Encanto here? Well, that's going to be our goal today. I feel like I want to walk around and show you guys all the possibilities of where Encanto could go. Mirabel and the family, the Madrigal family, where it could go, what could work, what's possible, and what is just, pure blue sky. With Tarzan's Treehouse being down for going on 6 months now, somebody suggested, well, what if they turn Tarzan's Treehouse into Antonio's Treehouse? I thought that was a great idea. I think that would look wonderful. But that's an example of clear blue sky. At least in the sense that I can realistically say that's not what they're doing right now. They're not doing anything like that. They could do it, but in order to do it well, as Ronnie and I discussed in our podcast, in order to do it well, you got to go all the way to 100. You can't just do a cheap reskin of the Treehouse and take out a thing or two here and replace it with something that looks like it's from Encanto. Drop in Antonio or something like that. It doesn't really work unless you go all the way, and a reskin would not be anywhere near enough. It wouldn't rise to the level necessary to say this is an Encanto attraction. It would feel temporary, kind of like Ghost Galaxy or Hyperspace Mountain or something like that, where you're just like, kind of no, I don't think so. If they did go all the way, 100, I think it would be kind of amazing. It would bring energy and bodies into this attraction that it hasn't seen, well, since Swiss Family. Even then, probably it would be an immediate success. I am positive if you were able to pull that off. But you got to go all the way. What next? You're right. It's ridiculous. We have no business being here at Launch Bay, but I brought you here anyway because it's a building in search of a host. You could put it in here. They've done more. I mean, they did the High School the Musical here. It could at least be something temporary while they figure things out. However, in this video, personally, I'm not in the temporary business. I'm in the permanent business. I'm in making something that's going to last decades business. And you can't do that. You can't put Encanto here for decades in Tomorrowland. Now, I have to say, the likelihood of them doing literally anything at all at Disneyland. Oh, thank you. Thank you very much, guys. Slim to none. Slim to none at Disneyland, if only because the Disneyland aesthetic is already so entrenched. It is what it is. It's very difficult to make any sort of meaningful change at Disneyland unless you're adding a whole new land like they did with Galaxy's Edge. But to drop in a new attraction somewhere is going to be hard to be done because just about everything in that park is sacred. Hey, how are you? It's all sacred. Everything. There's nothing. I mean, I can't think of a single attraction I'm like, yeah, give into that. Well, Star Tours. Actually, we're going to get into that in a minute because we're going back to Disneyland. Right now, we're at DCA where things can happen. I do believe that it is possible. It's not at all unlikely for Encanto to show up here at DCA. Actually, I'm going the wrong way. We need to go to Hollywood. We can start right here, right on Hollywood Boulevard, Disney Junior Dance Party. I start here because this is probably the most doable thing. It would require very little investment, very little capital to transform Disney Junior into something usable for Encanto because there's no theming inside at all. So anything they do would be, they wouldn't have to take anything out in order to put it in. Plus it's a musical, it lends itself to that kind of thing. However, the problem that I have personally with Disney Junior is that it's just not enough. It's just the same thing as Tarzan's Treehouse. This isn't enough. It's too much like a cheap reskin. If they really want to get something to the masses, if they want to really get something to the Encanto group, the Encanto fans out there, they got to go next level to that. What's next level to that?
The animation building? Yeah, it's another possibility. No, it's not next level. It's not enough, but it is another cheaper alternative, like the Disney Junior Dance Party. It's a cheaper alternative because it requires very little capital investment, very little creativity, very little effort to turn one of these rooms into something Encanto themed.
That's what I'm talking about. The Hyperion Theater. Again, this is something that Ronnie and I discussed in our podcast. Of the things that are likely, this is one of them because it is vacant. They've got no plans. They've canceled all the shows that were here, Frozen, Aladdin. You're not going to see that anymore. There's nothing happening here, and it's in desperate need of use. It is one of the biggest wastes of space here in California Adventure. And as I mentioned, dropping Encanto here in this land would make no difference whatsoever to the land that it's in. Now, it does present other problems, but as far as Hyperion goes, I mean, they're ready for a new show, and Encanto's the kind of show that would do really well there. You know, it's a musical just like Frozen and Aladdin is. The sets would be amazing. You would have, you know, the transformation of the casita as the main background on that set, you know, in terms of, it's a one-act show really, or I should say a one set show. You could do the whole thing around just the casita and then have, you know, individual rooms perhaps. But I think it would be an excellent adaptation of this building, of this use. It would adapt perfectly, the Hyperion Theater would, to an Encanto show. Also on the plus side is the opportunity to transform, in my opinion, one of the biggest eyesores that exist. And well, the Hollywood backlot and Hollywoodland in general is an eyesore to me, but this building specifically, because it's really, it's a haphazard, it's supposed to be a fake set, right? Hollywoodland is a Hollywood studio. So the Hyperion Theater that you're looking at is not actually the Hyperion Theater. It's a set of it's a fake. A fake of a fake. With the faux, you know, entrance as you walk through and you're like, oh my God, this is ridiculous. I've always hated it. You guys, I forgot to do a sarcastic trip through the fake facade.
Oh, there we go, there it is.
Put some money behind it, you could transform this facade into the casita. That would be fantastic. It would be a lot of work, a lot of capital, but it's something that would definitely resonate. Now, one problem is the transition. And I don't even mean the transition from, you know, from the Hyperion Theater to the rest of Hollywoodland, making this a casita, and how does that fit with Hollywoodland and the Hollywood backlot? I got no problem with that. Matter of fact, we're going to get into that more in a second. The problem that I have is with how it blends with Avengers Campus. I mean, it goes without saying that the transition from Avengers Campus, a modern, contemporary, high-tech set, the transition from Avengers Campus to Hollywoodland is already jarring. A set that is in the 1920s. Made worse if you try to drop a casita that exists in Colombia in between that. You know, that is not a comfortable, seamless transition. However, saying that, the transition that exists today, that they're already okay with, that everybody who seems to come to DCA is okay with, is bad, okay? It's already bad. The transition from Avengers Campus to Hollywoodland is terrible. It doesn't work at all. It doesn't make any sense. So, I mean, in for a penny, in for a pound, right? So what's the big deal? Dropping Encanto here, an Encanto-themed building in that transition space between Avengers Campus and Hollywoodland. That's not, you know what, that's not even the biggest problem. The biggest problem is that they want more Avengers Campus. We already know that they're trying to build a new e-ticket behind Guardians of the Galaxy, and I think it's easy to say that Avengers Campus is a success with respect to what it's replacing, Bugs Land. There's far more people here every day at Avengers Campus. It's bursting on most days. It's very full. So they would probably want more Avengers Campus, not less. So I feel like there's a very likely possibility, or I would say it's just as likely, that they might try to extend Avengers Campus into the Hyperion Theater and perhaps even to Hollywoodland. Now, having said that, let me get to why I think it's even more likely, though, that we do get something Okay, it's not likely, but on a scale of probability, this is more likely. Hi guys.
Love your show.
Thank you very much. Because it doesn't stop at the Hyperion Theater.
What if Encanto didn't stop at the Hyperion Theater?
What is it called?
What if it wasn't Hollywood backlot, but Columbia?
You guys remember that time when they were like, hey, they should turn one of these attractions into the swinging door ride from Monsters. They're gonna make this whole place Monstropolis. It was gonna be Monstropolis Land. Everybody was gung-ho about that one. Imagine Encanto. All of Colombia, the whole village. And obviously, right here, you can build a casita right here. I mean, visually we can see it in our mind's eye. There being the casita right there, where the Monsters Inc. dark ride is. They could level it. They could put something else entirely there. But I feel like the sky is the limit when it comes to just turning this into an entire land. They're already building a Frozen land. They've built a Cars land, so it's not new ground. Galaxy's Edge. It's not new ground where we're talking about turning one land into a single IP. They've been doing that. That's the direction things are going. Not to mention, you've got more than just the Monsters Inc. attraction that you could. Well, I mean, I suppose you could reskin that, but I would prefer something totally new. You have got literally 3 warehouse-sized buildings that are just dying for something. This whole land is dying for something to happen to it. Seriously, it has been 10 years. 10 years since they've done anything useful here. Flynn's Arcade, Electronica, 10 years ago. It has been useless since then. They've been waiting and waiting and waiting. They almost pulled the trigger on Mickey Minnie's Runaway Railway here. They were talking about pulling the trigger on Monstropolis. That was a discussion. That didn't come out of nowhere. They've been waiting for something to inspire them, I feel like. It's the same thing with Tomorrowland. They're waiting for something that's really, really great before they even start putting a single dollar into any kind of development. More Avengers Campus would be the only thing that I think could stop Encanto from happening here at the Hollywood backlot. And you could even extend, well, that's the one thing, is that you've got Hollywood Boulevard on the opposite side. Right over here you got Hollywood Boulevard, which is sort of an extension of Buena Vista Street, which is a land in and of itself. And that also by itself, or on its own, creates another transitional situation. Buena Vista Street, 1920s Hollywood, isn't any better at blending into Columbia than Avengers Campus is. But as I mentioned before, who cares? We've long given up the ghost on trying to make it. It doesn't work like that here, like it does at Disneyland, where everybody wants a very smooth, because we're so used to it. We're so used to it at Disneyland. The perfect transitions from Adventureland to New Orleans Square, from New Orleans Square to Cutter Country. Perfection, right? You're not going to get that here. So if you just give up that thought and just put it in, then maybe you got something. So you could even keep Hollywood Boulevard. You don't have to turn that into Avengers Campus, although you could. That actually is a very good compromise. I am literally winging it right now. I'm flying off the seat of my pants. That's a good compromise in terms of expanding Avengers Campus and creating something for Encanto. Give Avengers Campus Hollywood Boulevard, because that's already, they're already using part of that property, the backside of it, for Avengers Campus. Demo Avengers Campus. Hollywood Boulevard. Give that to Avengers Campus. And then you've got Encanto here, and then the Hyperion Theater. It's doable. It's doable. And the best part of all of this discussion is that we're talking about making everything better. This idea, this concept makes everything better. It makes this land better. It makes Avengers Campus better, because literally Hollywood Boulevard and the Hollywood backlot suck. They're so bad. And I mean, it's time. It's time. I feel like Disney's been waiting for something really, really good. They don't mind spending the money, I don't think, but it has to be something fantastic. It has to be something really great. They have to go all the way. And that's why they haven't put any money into Tomorrowland. or the back lot or Hollywood Boulevard for going on a decade now, because they don't want to spend any money until they want to spend all the money. I feel like that was a line from a movie somewhere. Like, don't do a thing until it hurts, until you can really feel it. Don't do a thing until you really, really feel it, you know? Then you do it, then you make the move. Good stuff. You know, it didn't even occur to me. I'm at Rancho. I mean, what if they turn this into an Encanto dining location? I mean, it's almost there. I don't think it's going to happen, but let's wrap up. What are we talking about? Blue sky. Almost all of this is blue sky. Certainly the two, you know, the Tarzan's Treehouse. The most reasonable possibilities are what could happen at Hollywood Backlot and Hollywoodland and the Hyperion Theater. But even that gives me pause. I have one concern about whether or not you could put Encanto at the backlot. Certainly, it's a big enough property to support a ride, an attraction. But can it support a land? It's not as big as Frozen. Frozen has 2 films. But Frozen, like Encanto, has a very simple set in terms of the environment that it lives in. But they built a Frozen land, or they're building one. And you're gonna have, what, a mountain and Arendelle? And that's about it, right? You're gonna have a ice mountain in Arendelle. Could you build, you know, a mountain in Columbia? Obviously those, you know, the set, it takes place, the setting is near the, you know, the big Colombian mountains. And then obviously the casita. You could put maybe 2 attractions in there. Certainly, you don't have enough to fill all 4 of those buildings. Flynn's Arcade, the Backlot Gift Shop, Monsters Inc., and Mickey's Philhar Mansion. And then the Hyperion Theater. I don't know if there's enough Encanto to fill that. You'd have to build one giant attraction, not an attraction in each of those buildings. They wouldn't fit anyway. But I think one thing we could say for sure is that it is on the front of Disney's mind. I think they do want to do something. It's just a question of how big their eyes are, their ambitions, and their wallets. Here's to Maribel and our family. Good luck, guys. First break.